Well, here's our golden triangle of Victoria, and we're going to concentrate on an area just 3 kilometres east of Dunolly. In particular, one of the tributaries to Munster Gully Rush. What I'd like to show you now is how to use maps to help in your search for gold. Every year or so there's a new detector model on the market that's just a bit better than the last. But if you're not detecting in the right areas, it's not going to find gold for you. But if you've got the proper geological maps and can read and understand them, you've got a massive advantage. To illustrate this, I'll show you how I found a patch of gold so close to Dunolly that it should have been found years before. Every beginner heads to where the old diggings can be seen. And that's okay, but if you've studied your map for that area, you've probably seen several tributaries feeding it, and that's where you should start. Work your way upstream from the junction with the main diggings, taking notice of the width and the size of the diggings along the tributary. Certainly have your detector working and check the areas just outside of the old workings. You could get lucky there. But your main task is to keep going until the old diggings suddenly stop. That probably means the gold did not come from further upstream. So the gold has more than likely come from one of the sides that slope down into the gully. So this is where what the old timers had done in the past will probably help us. They would have been thinking like us and have done a bit of digging holes here and there on the shallower slopes, but with no detector they would have easily missed any gutters that carried gold down into the tributary. That's where we'll get really serious. We'll set our detector just right for that bit of country and go slowly across the slope until we get the first signal. By the way, we use our headphones, not the speaker. In the dog patch, the gold was mostly from 6 to 8 inches in a shallow clay wash, sitting on clay or bedrock. Keep doing the same thing until you've found 1 or 2 or more, then spend a bit of time cleaning the area up. Still working across the slope, rake everything up into windrows on the down slope side. Then carefully detect that area, move uphill and pick a parallel line to the first and rake that new line into a windrow that will sit on your first line. The larger nuggets were found where the circles indicate. They were concentrated in the lower end of the slope. The apex of the triangular patch was further up the slope, and nothing more was found above it. Here's some of the gold found in Dog Patch and in some of the surrounding country there. Here's another example of how a map can help. Note the very large granite extrusion marked in red and the line of dots extending both ways from it, which mark minor extrusions. When this granite pushes its way upwards to the surface, if it happens to pass through a gold-bearing area, some of the gold is carried to the surface with it. Over the many thousands of years later, this gold is carried down the slopes to the gullies marked in pale blue. Then came the miners who dug the gold in shallow diggings from a couple of feet to 6 or 7 foot deep. These are marked by the close-spaced dots. Also on this map is marked a separate minor extrusion, number 11, with some mine shafts marked as black dots. Our camp is marked by the upper red arrow and a very nice nugget of nearly 2 ounces by the lower red arrow. The main ridge through this country follows the main line of dots, and I have found isolated gold on both sides of it. Here's that very nice nugget. It's shaped a bit like a lobster, don't you think? Here's another of my working maps, which I cut and paste from my very large original geological maps. I used to print these working maps out on an A4 sheet to take out with me when I used to head out to the goldfields. The originals of these maps are about 1.5 metres square and are at a scale of 1 to 100,000. Of course, being digital, you just get them up on your computer screen and you can process them however you like.